Hi team, welcome to another Sunday here in Bristol. We've come out again in the Westfalia just to do our next in our sort of van overview series, and it occurred to me this week, or to both of us to be fair, that we haven't done any introductions, which is a complete YouTube faux pas I'm sure, but anyway, let's remedy that now. I'm Jen, this is Jace.
Hi there.
And we've been sort of camper vanning in one way or another for about 25 years. We've had our Westie for probably the longest, and before that we had a Type 2. We did talk about how long we've had that in video number 1, so if you're interested in our journey to this point, please do look back and have a little look at that video. What we're going to try and do today is talk a little bit about so a couple of questions that have come up on the last 2 videos, so the gas tank install and a little bit on the blinds that we've fitted to our van, and then we're going to go into an overview on some planning for our next trip, so getting the van ready, things we do, things we try and avoid doing. And then next week it'll be loading the van in earnest, so all the shopping, etc. So yeah, come along. Hopefully you'll pick up some insights along the way, some interesting thoughts or ideas. Please do like and subscribe. It means the world to us that people are finding these videos interesting. Yeah, so enjoy.
So here I am down on the floor again, trying to answer a few questions that we had about how do you fit the LPG underslung tank on the T4 without sort of compromising space, etc. underneath, because like with everything on this van, what we try and do is make sure it isn't compromised or it can never sort of be put back to standard if that's what we wanted to do. So let's go underneath and have a look, and I'll try and explain where it is and what it is. So basically you've got the underslung tank under here, fitted up under the chassis rails. It does look a bit ropey now, but I'm going to get that off and get those brackets cleaned up and everything. You've got your external filler point here, which is really handy, because if you have those sort of refillable gas bottles that you have inside the van, it's getting more and more difficult to get them refilled other than at specialist places, whereas with this system you can just go to any fuel station and you can just fill up your van, and we've never had a problem, but to all intents and purposes it looks like you're just filling up a vehicle that runs on LPG anyway. Another nice little touch is the quick release cooker and barbecue point here. I got one with a little separate tap on it as well, just for a bit of extra peace of mind, and just in case any dirt gets in the end of the quick release valve there, it can't just sort of start leaking out. So, but it's never been a problem, which is nice. So with the tank, it's a 16 litre tank and it fits really snugly up under the chassis rails. There was an old exhaust bracket under there that I had to sort of trim out of the way, but with a bit of careful sort of planning, managed to get that 16 litre tank. And then this is where your valve box is and everything. And then the only other mod that I did was there was just a bracket for the spare wheel, and because we're on 16-inch wheels, it was all a bit tight there, so I managed to move a spare wheel across about 2 inches just to give us a bit of extra space. If you're on 15s, I don't think you'd even need to do that really. Like so I've said before, this tank's paid for itself over and over, so we're really happy with it. And that's basically it really. Obviously the pipe work just runs underneath the van and then up into the standard fitting, which there's a gas locker inside the van, so the pipe work runs up through the vent hole into there. And I think they're M14 by 1.5 fittings inside the actual vehicle, and I got those from a company up in Scotland, I think, the compression fittings for all of that. If you hunt around M14 by 1.5 to 8mm gas pipe or air pipe fittings, you'll be able to find them if that's what you want to do. I'll get the sizes of that tank and we'll put them up on the screen.
Okay, so one of the things that's really helped us when we got our Type 4 is having more stuff on board all the time. We're very lucky with this van that it doesn't suffer from any kind of condensation or anything over the winter, so we tend to keep things on board all the time, so those base items are always covered. And that just means that the hassle factor of getting the van ready to go is lessened. For us, you can just hop in, you've got certain bits and pieces. So I just want to walk through a few of those ideas. So we've always got base items, washing up liquid. We tend to use the e-cover washing liquid because it's eco-friendly, and if you drop a little bit on the floor, it's not going to be the end of the world. Obviously we try not to, sometimes it happens. Coffee and tea, obviously a staple in any van. And then we've got some base sort of spices and stock cubes and things like that, sugar just in case, and salt, always in the van. We usually kind of replace these probably once a year because some of the spices do tend to dry out a little bit with the hot, cold, etc. But they're always on board, so we've always got an ability to make a kind of decent meal, if you like. These squeezy squash cartons, really user friendly in a van, nice and small, concentrated, great little addition. Then we've always got our kind of kettle. We do have 2 kettles in our van, mainly use that on the gas. This one, I think partly because it looks cute, but it also boils nice and quickly. And then our bigger Old Faithful, which we have had for a really long time. I know it looks battered, I know it looks tired, probably more tired than I do actually, but it's just one of those things we just can't replace. You've got to have a kettle in your life, haven't you? And then in this cupboard here we also have our cups. Now we've opted to have proper ceramic cups. We've yet to break one, probably will do in the next 20 minutes, but we like to have a proper cup of tea in a proper cup, so we've opted away from plastic on that. Another little hack we've got here, we've got these hot mugs. They're Joseph ones. I mean, there's tons on the market these days. What we use these for is sometimes when we're driving for a hot drink on the go, but actually we bought these to have porridge. Now we all know these days you can buy your porridge pots. They're 50-60p depending on what supermarket you go for. Nice and easy to make your porridge in the morning. They take up a lot of room and you've got a fair bit of waste with them. So we've actually worked out that you can do a pre-mix, if you like, of your porridge, dried milk, and then all you need to do is add your hot water, stick it in one of these, and you've got yourself a nice easy breakfast. The best thing about it is it keeps it warm, it allows the porridge to soften up a little bit. We tend to use the fine porridge grains, but you're cool on what you want to do with that. You can obviously do overnight if you want as well, but you don't have any horrible pan to scrub out, which is the other thing about if you make your own porridge. So we also have a spray oil. We tend to fill this up with general, I think, vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, something like that. We have had the odd spill in the van of oil, so we found this is a really good solution. You don't use too much either, and again we would replenish that once a year, so that's always on board. A couple of little caddies we've got here, these are from IKEA. I don't think they're terribly expensive. We keep our coffee pods in one of them, and then we always have rubbish bins and food bags as well. I know they're not the most ecologically friendly, but making sandwiches for on the go, we've often found that having kind of Tupperware boxes to put your sandwiches in, again, it takes up a lot of room in a van of this size, so we tend to go for that. We also have some foil on board as well, and then really handy kitchen roll. The only thing with this is we have to make sure we don't go for the big jumbo size one because it won't fit, but it's been really useful adding kitchen roll holder actually. So we've tended to use these, they're actually energy drink tubs, but they're really, really nice and sort of narrow, and they fit in the van nicely. So this is what we use to put our porridge mix in. So that's the fine porridge oats with dried milk, and then all you need to do is add hot water to it and whatever you want in terms of your toppings. That works really well, and they fit nicely in the cupboard back here. And then we have a much bigger one which we tend to use for a big vat of cereal. Again, you don't want to be carrying boxes of cereal with you if you're on a fortnight's holiday. This will do us, both of us. We have a reasonable sized bowl of a morning, will do us both for a fortnight, and we tend to do a bit of a mix up, so whatever combo we want, again, fits really nicely in the cupboard here. Other standard items we always have on board, we always have a couple of raincoats. They tend to be the ones that we've had for many years and don't necessarily wear very often. Always on board because, you know, the weather, it's just something that you then don't have to worry about. We also always have a couple of woolly hats. I'd say we have sun hats, but I think we live in England and we travel Europe, so the prevalence of needing a woolly hat probably is more so than a sun hat. Obviously we would take them for our main summer holiday, but again, always on board so that you just don't have to think about these items, and it makes loading the van so much easier. So we've also got this sort of what we call a Polly Pocket area. To be fair, this was in the van when we got it. We're kind of a bit snippy about it, to be fair, when it was first when we first saw it. But it's been really useful. You can buy these. I think they tend to be on the more overlander market. But it's really handy for just putting a whole load of stuff in that you don't have to have in your wardrobes. So again, standard items. We always have some anti-bac. We always need anti-bac in a van. Sun cream, a few packets of tissues, that sort of thing. Face wipes, toilet wipes, that sort of stuff. Again, just really useful. It's personal preference, but if they're always in the van, you don't need to think about it. To the more bathroom items, I'll just flip you around to show you nicely. So again, we always have standard. We tend to use Simple as our sort of face wash and shower gel of choice. Again, that kind of eco benefit, and then shampoo and shave gel, etc. And that always stays in the van, and we just replenish it, fill it up as we need to. And it just means you just don't need to load quite so much stuff. So when it comes to us planning to go away, it's very much clothes, toys, bikes, boats, that sort of thing, and also food. Everything else, the base items, are on board. So we find that a really, really good way of approaching the van. Like I say, we're very lucky this van doesn't suffer with condensation or anything in the winter, so we can leave things on board and it doesn't matter. So I hope that's interesting, and we'll have a look at some other bits now.
So another thing we got asked a lot about was, how do you have the uppy downy blinds, basically. I just came up on the idea of using the good old IKEA uppy downy blackout blinds like this, and thought, well, how can I actually use them, and how am I going to actually block out the light and get them to slide up and down when there's not really any window frame for them to go onto. So I came up with the idea of using 90-degree UPVC channel, and basically I shaped the channel to fit the curvature of the window, because you probably don't realise there's actually quite a curve on these windows, they're not just straight. So I've manipulated the plastic by warming it up and bending it, then effectively used a bonding agent to bond the two 90 degrees together to make a U channel, and then basically just screwed it all together, really. I don't really know how, you know, honestly, I've been asked a lot how I did it. It was actually quite simple once I knew what I was doing. So the first one seemed to take weeks and weeks to get it right, and loads of them in the bin, and loads that I wasn't happy with, and this angle and that angle wasn't right. But once I actually got going with it, and I added this sort of self-adhesive, I don't know what you call it really, it's like a sort of fuzzy felt type stuff here, so that when the blind goes down, it really you know, it really does block out the light.
For those of you that have watched the second video that we did in the sort of Westfalia hacks series that we've been doing, we talked about the bed and how we've kind of worked out that you can create the bed without having to swivel the seats, which is a complete game changer. If you've not seen that video, please do go back and have a little look, because it's a really simple fix and a really good workaround. But what I wanted to say was the item that we use in order to create that, this little cool box, which looks super cool, really because of the stickers. It's a Halfords model. We were in Halfords yesterday. They still make it, so I think it's about £40, something like that. Not overly expensive, and certainly not compared to some of the more fancy ones. And it works with that bed hack absolutely brilliantly. So yeah, get in there. So along with the sort of teas, coffees and bits and pieces like that we have on board, we also have our kind of standard kitchen bits and pieces, so plates, bowls, cutlery, saucepans, etc. One little hack that actually I picked up from my mum, we've not used it in this van, but I think it's a really great idea, is, you know, if you're replenishing your kind of hardware in the van, so all of your nice household items, think about a colour coordination idea, because when you get back from a trip, if you've, you know, got a bit of washing up to do or whatever, it's really easy to get those items then lost into the household kit. And then next time you're without a spork or a fork or a bowl or something. So if you have your van ones one colour and your household ones something different, it's really easy to spot. Just a neat little idea, which I quite like. So a little bit more on our cupboard setup here. On the left side we have got our sort of plates and bowls, etc. We've got some mixing bowls, and then the bottom shelves tend to get used for tins and packet mixes and things like that. And then onto the right side, which is on the wheel arch side, anyone that's got this format van knows that the space in here is a little bit limited, but these click lock boxes fit really nicely. We've got two in there, one with rice, one with couscous, and then we tend to use these T4 ingenious pans. I've got one to show you there, and then the bottom we've got some tin foil, chopping boards, and the all important wine glasses. These T4 pans work really well. They've got the detachable handle, which saves on space. It's the same handle for all of them, so we've got that saucepan, and in here, if you can believe it, we've actually got 3 other saucepans and a frying pan, which is, they're really great, really user friendly. We've actually used these for probably, we used it on the big trips, and that's over 18 months of constant use. And they look a bit bashed around the edges, but you can see the inside is still mint, so that's good. And then you've got this lovely big frying pan, which we've actually used to make pizzas in, all that sort of stuff. And then we've got a collapsible colander, which we thought was a little bit gimmicky, but actually it does work quite well, as long as you don't put your rice down too heavy-handedly. And then finally into the cutlery drawer. Nothing particularly exciting in there, just the important stuff really. A couple of knives, bits and pieces. We tend to use a lot of sporks just because it's easy when you're eating sort of bowl food, etc. But yeah, that's what we've got there.
So van life coffee, that is an important thing, right? Again, we've been through Bialetti's, Instant, all the rest of it. I had wanted a Nespresso machine for a long time, but it's just not really practical in a van this size. So what I did find at the outdoor show was this GoPresso. It's not sponsored or anything, it's just interesting because it does work really, really well. It's completely self-contained. It will actually boil the water from cold and make you a really good little coffee, but for the purpose of this, I'm actually just going to use some pre-boiled water and show you how it all goes together, and hopefully I can actually get a nice cup of coffee this morning. So first thing we do, take the little plastic cup off, not that we use it very much. Just got your little, oh, there he goes. You've got your little sort of receptacle thing. Get your coffee pod. We use the compostable ones. They do, not just because they're compostable, but because they do actually seem to work better with this little system. I don't really know why. That just drops in there. Screw that lid on, nice and tight, and that sort of punctures the top of the pod. Put that back on. Flip it up the other way. Like I say, I'm using some pre-warmed water for this, but it will do it from cold, and it doesn't actually take very long. In we go, the all-important water pouring picture. Pop the lid on. Job done. Wait for coffee. Now a real professional would have actually got the stopwatch out and then like started it running so you could actually see how long it took. And it didn't take like hours and hours to make this coffee. It literally took about 2 minutes, which was about the time it took me to get the phone out to get the stopwatch going, and by the time that had happened the coffee was actually ready, so it doesn't take very long at all.
So there you go, a little bit of an overview on a few of the technical bits that we've been asked about, and a little bit around our van preparation. Next week you're going to see the van come to life in terms of having everything loaded. Might be time lapse, might be us messing about loading it in real time, could be a little bit of a long one, that one, but let's see how it pans out, and then we'll tell you a little bit more about our intended adventures. We've come to a little spot not that far from our normal filming location down by the old Seven Bridges. Really interesting. It's just a little lay-by on the side of a country lane. In the time we've been here, we've had a couple of lovely dog walkers stop, see if we needed any assistance. We've also had some nice people on horseback come through as well. So both times we thought we were going to get shouted at and told to move on. Not a bit of it. And they're really interested in what we're doing. So anyway, we hope you've enjoyed watching. Hope you've learned a thing or two along the way. And we'll see you next week for van preparation part 2. Over and out. Bye.
Bye.